Rain was falling the kind of way that soaks through your clothes before you even realize you're cold, and I remember thinking how strange it was that the world could look so calm while my chest felt like it was collapsing in on itself. I was standing at the edge of a cemetery, staring at a name carved into stone, a name the whole city had already turned into legend. And there I was, just a housekeeper with muddy shoes and shaking hands, crying like I had lost the only safe place I'd ever known. 3 days earlier, that man had been alive. 3 days earlier, I still had a job, a roof, and a sense that, maybe, just maybe, I wasn't invisible anymore. Then, everything snapped. And, yeah, I didn't know it then, but that night would change every single thing. Let me back up a little. My name is Lena Carter. For most of my life, I learned how to disappear. Not in a dramatic way, just quietly the way people like me do when being noticed only brings trouble. I worked as a live-in housekeeper at the Hawthorne Estate, a massive place sitting just outside the city, all glass stone and security gates. To the outside world, it was owned by Victor Hale, a self-made billionaire everyone loved to call a genius. To me, it was a place where you walked softly, spoke carefully, and learned which corners of the house made you smallest. Most days started before sunrise. I'd clean floors that never showed footprints, polish surfaces. No one would thank me for and make sure the house looked perfect before anyone important opened their eyes. Mrs. Eleanor Hawthorne, Victor's aunt, ran the place like a general. She never raised her voice, she didn't need to. Her words were sharp enough on their own. "Lena, you missed a spot. Lena, don't linger. Lena, remember your position." Her son Marcus was worse. He smiled when he mocked you. "You're lucky to be here," he'd say, leaning too close. "People like you don't get chances like this." And I'd nod, because arguing only made things worse. The only person who didn't treat me like furniture was Victor. He wasn't warm, not exactly, but he was fair. He noticed things. Once, when Eleanor accused me of scratching a table Marcus had damaged, Victor stopped her mid-sentence. "She didn't do it," he said, calm as ever. "I saw what happened. That was it. No apology, no scene, just truth. But to me, it felt like oxygen." Another time he asked my name. I had been there almost 2 years, and no one had ever asked. "Lena," I said. He nodded. "Thank you for your work." Just 4 words. I replayed them for weeks. Then came the night everything fell apart. Victor didn't come home. At first, everyone pretended it was normal. Meetings run late, flights get delayed. But by midnight, Eleanor was pacing and Marcus was pretending not to worry a little too hard. The call came just after 2 in the morning. An accident. Highway explosion. Victor's car. They said there was nothing left to identify except personal effects. Closed casket. The words didn't feel real, like someone else's nightmare had wandered into my life. The next day, the house filled with people who suddenly loved Victor very loudly. Business partners, politicians, distant relatives, all dressed in black, all telling stories about his brilliance. No one talked about his quiet kindness, or how he defended people who couldn't defend themselves. I worked through the chaos, serving drinks, collecting empty glasses, feeling like I was moving underwater. At the funeral, I stood at the back, hands clasped so tightly my fingers hurt. When the casket was lowered, Eleanor wailed. Marcus bowed his head dramatically, and I felt hollow. I didn't cry then. I couldn't. That night, after everyone left, I walked to the cemetery alone. It was raining, of course, because grief always seems to come with rain in movies, and life has a cruel sense of humor like that. I knelt in the mud and cried until my chest ached. I told him things I never would have said if he were alive. That he mattered to me. That he made me feel human in a place that tried to erase me. I didn't know anyone was watching from the dark edge of the cemetery. I didn't know Victor Hale wasn't dead at all. Because here's the twist. Victor had staged his death. A controlled explosion, a damaged but living body, a private medical facility hidden far from curious eyes. Why? Because he wanted to see who people really were when they thought he was gone. He wanted to expose greed, betrayal, the quiet theft that hides behind polite smiles. What he didn't plan for was me. 3 days after the funeral, Eleanor called me into the main hall. Marcus was there too, sitting back like he already knew how this would end. "We've had some concerns," Eleanor said, folding her hands. Marcus held up a gold pen. Victor's pen. "We found this in your room." My stomach dropped. I tried to explain. I told them I had found it in the hallway and planned to return it. They didn't listen. "That pen is worth more than you make in years," Eleanor said calmly. "You're dismissed. No police, no investigation. Just 10 minutes to pack and leave." I walked out into the rain with a small bag and nowhere to go. That was the moment I broke. Not because I lost the job, but because I realized how easy it was for them to erase me. I wandered the city all night, soaked, hungry, ashamed, until my feet carried me back to the cemetery without me even thinking about it. I knelt again and cried harder than before. I admitted something out loud for the first time, that I loved him. Not his money, not his power, him, the man who saw me. Victor heard every word. He stood under an umbrella ribs, still healing heart-pounding in a way it hadn't in years. "She's the only one," he whispered to his doctor. The only one who cried without an audience. The next morning my life shifted quietly. A stranger found me and offered help. A safe place. Dry clothes. Food. No questions. Then the police showed up anyway. Eleanor had filed a theft complaint. I sat in a hard chair while officers looked at me like they'd already decided who I was. I told the truth. Again. Hours later, everything stopped. Charges dropped. No explanation. I walked out shaking, knowing someone powerful had stepped in. Days later, I got a call. "Someone you already said goodbye to would like to see you." When I walked into that room and saw Victor alive, I almost collapsed. Shock turned into anger so fast it scared me. "You watched me cry," I said. He didn't deny it. He apologized, not with excuses, but with silence and listening. He told me everything, the plan, the test, the mistake. "I never meant to hurt you," he said. "But I did, and that mattered." He went public soon after. Press conference, cameras. He exposed Eleanor and Marcus, the financial games, the false accusations. He said my name out loud and cleared it completely. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt seen, and that was heavier than I expected. After that, he didn't chase me. He didn't offer money or favors. He fixed systems instead. Worker protections, accountability. He kept his distance, let me rebuild on my own terms. Months passed. I moved into my own apartment. I started a new job. I learned what it felt like to lock a door and know it was mine. One afternoon, I went back to the cemetery. No rain this time. Just quiet. I left a flower and let go of the version of him I had buried there and the version of myself that believed kindness always loses. Victor waited by the gate, not pushing, not hiding. Just there. This isn't a story about a billionaire saving a maid. It's about power being exposed and dignity surviving when it shouldn't. It's about how the truth comes out when people think no one is watching. I kept my truth when I had nothing else, and he had to lose everything to understand what mattered. So here's my question to you. When no one is watching, who are you kind to? And when you have power, do you protect the vulnerable or do you test them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know where you stand and if you've ever seen something like this happen in real life.